Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Antonia Bennett, daughter of Tony Bennett, performs live at the historic Blues Alley in Washington, D.C. this Friday and Saturday. We discussed her own original singing career and her favorite memories of performing with her legendary father. Hey, thank you so much for joining us on WTOP.
Well, thank you for having me, Jason.
It's really cool to talk with you. You're Tony Bennett's daughter. We should tell everybody that, but a talented artist in your own right. And I just mentioned that because I'm interviewing Willie Nelson's son, like in a couple hours from now. So it's like a lineage excellence day or something.
Wow, that's really fantastic.
But I wanted to let everyone know you are coming to perform live at Blues Alley in Georgetown here in D.C. Legendary spot. It'll be 4 shows, 2 on Friday and 2 on Saturday. So let's start there. What can we expect from the show? Is it any of your dad's stuff? Obviously your stuff, a little of both.
Well, it's mostly American Songbook. I think it would be impossible to do American Songbook without doing something that my dad has recorded. But everything is really my own versions of things, my own thing. And then I do have a couple of originals that I'll be throwing in there as well.
Awesome. Can you give us a hint of, I like to be able to maybe give a song teaser or 2 or 3 of maybe some of the stuff on the set list. We don't have to spoil the whole thing, but just to whet their appetites a little bit.
If I'm to be honest, I haven't actually created the set list yet, but probably Teach Me Tonight. Or, something like that, or From This Moment On. I love Cole Porter and George Gershwin, so you'll probably hear a lot of that in my show.
Awesome. And what in terms of, us visually picturing it on stage, do you have like a band behind you? Are you solo, or what would you sort of see
Sure.
in terms of the performance?
Piano, bass, and drums. It will be Roman Ivanov on piano, Jerry Brown on drums, and Paul Nowinski on bass.
Awesome. It is. I don't know if you've ever played Blues Alley before, but it is a historic spot. Well, let me ask you that. Have you been there before?
Oh, I've been going to Blues Alley my whole life. I mean, my dad played Blues Alley when I was a kid, and I actually, amazingly enough, the first time I was there with him, found a cat in the alley of Blues Alley. So I actually literally found a jazz cat, and then we
No way. You're making that up.
I mean, no, I'm not. And then we found somebody to adopt the cat. It was really cute. So yes, there really are jazz cats at Blues Alley.
Wow, you found a jazz cat in the alley of Blues Alley. That is amazing. Wait,
Yeah.
so who adopted it? You mean like someone you just knocked
A
on
patron.
doors in Georgetown, or what?
Actually, I think she was like a regular patron of Blues Alley. I don't remember. Probably the owner of Blues Alley would remember, more than I do, because I was a small child. But
That's great. That's
yeah.
great. Before I move off the cat story, one final question on it. What kind of cat was it? And did you give it like an impromptu name as a kid?
I did not give it an impromptu name. I know that I did want to take it home, but I think my mother probably wouldn't have liked that. So my father was like, no, we're going to find a good home for it here. And I don't remember. It might have been a black and white cat, because I seem to have quite a lot of karma with black and white cats.
Wow, that is a great story. Thanks for giving me a gold little soundbite for, a local angle for the radio station. That's great. Well, you mentioned your dad performing there growing up. Where did you grow up, and what are your first earliest memories? I assume it was your dad's music, or just music in general. Like, what were your earliest formations of all this?
I mean, well, I was born in New York. I was raised in Los Angeles, and I was surrounded by a lot of wonderful musicians like Ella Fitzgerald and Rosemary Clooney and Count Basie and, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin. All of those people were living in Los Angeles at the time. Rosemary Clooney too. So they were all within a very short distance from where I lived at that time. And so I was able to have a lot of exposure to that music. And I grew up listening to a lot of different things, not just singers, but musicians as well. And I loved musical theater as well. So I was watching a lot of shows like Oklahoma and, things like that. And I would sometimes, if one of the Broadway shows was made into a musical like Oklahoma, we had a lot of scores in our house at that time. So I would have like the actual score, and I would just memorize all the songs from a musical and then just walk around the house singing them. And that's really how I got my start, is just kind of doing it at home and watching and relearning and copying, and then I just fell into kind of doing it full time. So there you have it.
There you have it. Yeah. And you mentioned loving musicals. I know you went off and trained as an actor at Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute, right? And then, but more importantly, Berklee College of Music in Boston too, really.
Yeah, I did. I did do a short experience at Lee Strasberg, which was great, just to kind of get a sensibility for the stage. And then, I went on to Berklee, and after Berklee, I just kept doing it, and here I am.
That's awesome. The names you were dropping, Dean Martin and Rosemary Clooney and Count Basie, all these people, did you have a sense at the time that like, this is like not normal, or to you, it was normal, it was your normal being the daughter of a legendary crooner like your dad, but you know what I mean? At what point were you like, wow, this is amazing that these people, these legends are my mentors?
I mean, I think I did have a sense that all the people that were around were very creative and at the top of their game. But you have to understand, I grew up in Beverly Hills, and at that time I was going to school with like Angelina Jolie, who was John Voight's daughter. And there were a lot of, everybody was somebody's kid,
Right.
I mean, that wasn't so uncommon. And even if some kid was like a lawyer's kid, they were like the most famous entertainment lawyer's kid or something like that. So it wasn't really that big of a stretch. I mean, there was a lot of, even now in Los Angeles, if you drive around, there's celebrities everywhere. It's kind of a normal thing. So it didn't seem that odd or off.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. When you're going to high school with Angelina Jolie, there you go. That's the normal for you. Didn't you start actually performing on stage even younger? Even when you were a kid, you were actually on stage with some of these people, right?
Well, sure. Yeah, my dad would bring me out on the road ever since I could walk and talk, and I would come and sing a couple tunes with him in the show. And Rosie Clooney was nice enough to have me a couple of times in her show as well, and so I kind of just grew up doing it, and then I fell into doing it on my own. And then after college, in the 1990s, I really started performing with my dad, and kind of graduated from, Santa Claus is Coming to Town and the Hokey Pokey to opening act for the majority of his shows.
Yeah,
So,
and that period there as the opening act, you got to play some of the biggest venues in the world, right? You play Radio City with them, Hollywood Bowl and Newport Jazz Festival, Caesar's Palace, Royal Albert Hall. Like what was it like getting to tour the world and play these amazing venues that most people could only dream of playing?
I mean, I think honestly, it was very special to be able to play those places, and also just be in an environment where everything was taken care of. I mean, we had a great sound man with us, and we always stayed in very nice hotels. And so really, I got to tour under the best circumstances, which was amazing, because, life on the road can be a grind. And so doing it like that is very special, to be able to travel with your family and be all together. That was very meaningful for me, especially in my young adult life. To be able to have that time with my dad was really special.
Awesome. Well, I want to get to your original music in 1 second, but one final question about a thing you did with your dad. I know in 2008, you helped out on his Christmas album, Swinging Christmas. The album was, I think it was Grammy nominated even. But you and your dad sang a duet of Irving Berlin's I've Got My Love to Keep Me Warm. If you can take me back sort of in studio, how did you all sit down in studio and try to hash that one out together?
I mean, I just got a call a few days before saying, "Oh, would you do this duet with me?" And I said, "Sure." And so then I just learned the tune, and I think it was Lee Musiker who did the arrangement on that. And then I went into the studio and we did it, and that was that. I mean, it was a kind of fast thing that we threw together. But when you're working with the same guys all the time, and year after year you're together, it's easy to do that. And you're able. It was great because we got to do that and sing together, it was very meaningful to just be able to have a duet with my dad that was recorded. And because sometimes we would do it in live shows, but we had never actually recorded anything until that point.
So that was the first recording
Yeah.
together. Okay, cool. Well, speaking of recordings, I know in 2010 you did an EP called Natural, but we're building up to the big real debut album, Embrace Me, in 2014. How was it putting together that first Natural, and then sort of the evolution between that and actually putting Embrace Me out?
Well, I mean, there's this great pianist. His name is Larry Goldings, and I asked him if he would do a few cuts with me, and he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so we went into. I was working with this songwriter and producer at the time named Holly Knight, and she had a friend who worked over at the Colburn Institute, and we recorded it there at the Colburn Institute in Los Angeles, which was great. They have these really nice pianos in there, and so we just recorded it live in that hall. Larry did all the arrangements on that. Obviously, it's a duo thing, so but it was great to work with him. We had worked together many moons before with Tom Wopat, had me sing a duet with him on his record, and so I always liked the way he played, and it was great to do something with him. And then when I did the Embrace Me record, that kind of came off of the cuff. I had been working with these guys in New York, and my brother had some studio time for me available. He's a recording engineer, a Grammy-winning recording engineer, Dave Bennett, and he said, "Why don't you come in?" And I did, and we just came down and laid down all the tracks that we had been doing live. So that was the progression of that record, just kind of happened. And then Holly and I also did an album of original music called Ordinary Girl after that. And now I'm kind of doing a combination of both originals and standards, and that's kind of the place I've fallen into, where I kind of get to do both, and which is great, to be able to sing these songs that have been interpreted so many different times and find your own way to do it, and then to also have my own voice writing my own songs.
Absolutely. Based on piggybacking on what you just said of, being able to, reimagine the standards, but also your own voice with your own songs, as you said, did that play into why you called it Embrace Me? It's like, hey, embrace me for my talent as well as my, legendary family.
Well, I was thinking of calling it Embraceable You, because that's one of the tracks on there. But then my dad actually said, you shouldn't call it Embraceable You. You should call it Embrace Me, because that's what you want the people to do. And I said, what, that's a good idea. So really, I have to credit him for that. I can't take the credit for it.
And awesome. Well, you've been more than generous with your time. In terms of bringing it full circle to here in DC, I know you said you played Blues Alley a lot. Did you ever come to like Kennedy Center Honors for your dad in 2005 or the Gershwin Prize, Library of Congress in 2017?
I was a guest for both of those. And also, we've also played, is it Wolf Trap? That's right outside of...
Yeah, in Virginia, at Wolf Trap National Park. That's a beautiful spot.
Yeah, so we've done Wolf Trap a bunch of times through the years. I've had the opportunity to play there. And that's really, as far as amphitheaters go, that amphitheater and also Ravinia outside of Chicago, those are my two favorite outside venues in the country to play. We've been playing there year after year, and people are so great. The sound is so wonderful. Audiences are always terrific. And it's just a great experience.
Absolutely. I agree. Wolf Trap is as good as it gets. We're lucky to have it for an outdoor venue. First of all, before you head to Wolf Trap, head out to Blues Alley in Georgetown, the historic spot, to see Antonia Bennett perform live 4 shows, 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday. I guess final seconds, pretend I'm not even here and like you're talking directly to our listeners and just say, hey, DC, come on out. You're going to have a good time.
Hey, everybody. This is Antonia Bennett, and I would really love to see you at my shows at Blues Alley on March 31st and April 1st. Looking forward to seeing you.
And who knows, maybe you'll find another stray cat in the alley and find another
Now.
home. Awesome. Hey, thanks for doing this.
All right. Thanks, Jason.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.